Hey everybody, Jason from iAnimate here. How's everybody doing? In this week's snippet, we're going to talk about a thing called persistence of vision. So persistence of vision is to do with spacing, right? Spacing is probably one of the most underrated principles in animation. Super, super important, right? So when you're going fast, spacing is going to be further apart. When you're going slow, spacing is going to be closer together. But when you change directions, always think about slowing out of each change, right? So whether you're going up or down or side to side, always think about slowing out, right? This way it helps to draw your eye and it won't feel like a pop in the action, right? So whenever I'm critiquing students' work or looking at shots for animation and there's sort of a glitch in the animation or something sort of pops, what is it? It's usually a spacing pop, right? It's usually a persistence of vision thing. So a simple way to see this or to understand it is sort of, and you see it all the time in everything, right? So a simple way would be like, let's say the bouncing ball, right? So we have the ball and it's going to start here and then it's going to end here and then it's going to come back up to here, right? So on the way down to here and on the way back up to here, you're going to stretch, right? You're going to have like that stretch frame, right? So let's say like we do the stretch frame here and you got your ground here and the ground basically stops that ball from going through, right? So it stops it, squashes, and then it's going to stretch on the way up. Now, a common thing to do would be to do this, right? But what happens is if you have these two at the same position, you're going to get a pop, right? So if you have that on for one frame, this one on for one frame, and this one on for one frame, right? We'll call that 3, right? Just to keep it, let's do this. Let's make it clear, right? 1, 1, 1, right? So you have it on for one frame. So these two are very similar. So it really feels like that frame is on for 2 frames, right? And this one will be your pop, right? So how do we get away from that? How do we alleviate that issue? So the way I think about it is I'm always going to want to slow out. Let me just erase this. I'm always going to want to slow out of the change of direction, right? So we have our bouncing ball, our squash pose right there. So on the way down, I try to reverse engineer it a little bit and have this one be a little bit higher, right? So in other words, your eye is going to be drawn this way, right? You're going to see this ball, it's going to start to slow out and you're going to get the spacing and you're going to get the spacing. And then if this ground wasn't here, then the next ball would be somewhere here, right? But we have that and it stops the ball, quick, like this, right? And then on the way back up, slow out of that change in direction. So now I'll put this one here. Okay, that way this frame and this frame are totally different. So you feel that a little bit more, right? Now, if you're doing like 24 frames per second, you may want to have a little bit of a squash and coming in and out of even the squash pose, depending on how light or how heavy the ball is or how squashy it is. If it's like a bubble, you're going to have a lot more frames there where it goes boom and then comes out, right? But if you just want to feel that, like if this was 24 frames per second, you may want one extra frame, like coming out of this, so you even slow out a little bit more to get that change in direction, right? That way you really feel that squash. Now, another thing is in a walk, right? So we're always talking about knee pops. How do we get rid of knee pops? And usually what it is you got the bent leg, right? And then you're going to your straight leg. And then right after that, so this would be like the contact pose or something like this would be like, let's say it's like the overshoot pose or something. And then you're going to the squash, right? Which is the bent leg again, right? So what happens is you get that bent leg, straight leg, bent leg. So what happens is you see the bent leg and you get that pop in between. So how do we get rid of it? See that straight leg for longer, right? So what I try to do is have at least 2 frames of this straight, right? At least 2 frames of the straight. So it kicks forward from here into the straight and then slow out of that, right? So that change in direction, right? So it might have a slight bend and then go to your squash. This way you get to see that straight leg for longer, right? And you get that alleviation of the persistence of vision, right? Another thing, right? So you see it all over the place. And it's once you figure it out and you kind of go, okay, how do I stop that pop? Think about the change in direction, okay? So eye blinks. Let's go to another frame here so we can see. So if we have like our eyes open and our next frame is, let's say, like the eyes closed, so we have a little bit of lower lid coming up and a little top lid coming down, okay? If we have the eye blink, that's sort of like that, okay? And then we're going to open again, right? If you're in between, like from a linear perspective, like let's say you just have this as one key, this as like, say frame 3, and this as frame 5. If you have the ones in between straight in the middle, again, you're going to get that persistence of vision thing. This will be the dominant frame because you see it for 2 frames, right? But if you think about it in the change of directions, right? So you're going from open to closed, slow out, okay? So think about that. Think about bringing this frame closer to the top, right? So you have a slow out of the open frame. Sorry for the crappy drawing, but just so we can get to feel it, okay? So we get this a little closer to the top, okay? Then you have the closed position, and then you have this one changing direction again, right? So now we have this one slightly opening, okay? So now these 2 frames are totally different, and we get to draw the eye towards the closed and then draw from the closed to the open.